yes, we're getting a little bit far ahead of ourselves, but Franklin Graham finds you refreshing. He doesn't find me refreshing. Richard Spencer, the white nationalist leader, says he could vote for you.
Joy, this is why.
I mean, you're on
here.
Tucker Carlson at least 10 times. Why don't you go on Chris Wallace's show?
This is why I'm here, because you and other people continue to spread these innuendos that have nothing to do with who I am.
Well, Hillary Clinton started it, and then you shot back at her, boy. You called her the queen of warmongers.
You doubled down, unfortunately, you doubled down on the baseless accusations that she made that strikes at the core of who I am. I'm a soldier. Because of the attacks on 9/11, I enlisted in the military to go after and defeat and destroy the evil that visited us on that day. I've served now for over 16 years, deployed twice to the Middle East during the height of the war, where every single day I saw firsthand the terribly high human cost.
Tulsi Gabbard unleashed a fiery takedown on Joy Behar during The View, leaving the studio in stunned disbelief. From the very first exchange, the atmosphere was tense, and Joy had no idea she was stepping into a storm she couldn't control. It all began when Joy, flashing that familiar smug smirk, tossed out one of her trademark jabs. But this time, she went too far, hurling weak insults and flimsy claims in a failed attempt to corner Tulsi. What happened next left jaws hanging wide open. Tulsi, calm yet razor-sharp, stared her down and branded her a fool on live TV, a moment so shocking the audience gasped as Joy's face flushed bright red. Instead of retreating, Tulsi leaned in with a steady, unshakable presence.
I am a patriot. I love our country. I am a strong and intelligent woman of color, and I have dedicated almost my entire adult life to protecting the safety, security, and the freedom of all Americans in this country. It was the attacks on 9/11.
Making it clear she wouldn't be silenced or bullied, not by Joy and not by anyone else sitting at that table. The other hosts shifted uneasily in their seats as the pressure skyrocketed, clearly sensing Joy was rattled. Desperate to recover, Joy fumbled with her cue cards as if the answers were hiding there, but her trembling hands betrayed her. Her composure slipped, and it was obvious Tulsi had seized control of the entire exchange. Tulsi wasn't giving Joy a single chance to recover. Her eyes stayed locked, her voice cutting through the air like a razor. "You think you can smear me, and I'll just smile for the cameras," she fired back, her words landing like a punch. "I've faced enemies overseas who were more honest than this." The audience broke into shocked murmurs as Joy tried to cover with a forced laugh, but the nervous glance she threw at the other hosts revealed the truth. Tulsi pressed on, steady and deliberate, each line striking harder than the last. "You've made a career out of tearing down people you don't agree with," she continued, pointing straight at Joy. "But today, you picked the wrong person." Gasps and claps rippled through the crowd, adding fuel to Tulsi's fire as Joy tried to respond, only to be cut off immediately. "No, you've had your turn. Now, you're going to listen." The command in her voice left Joy speechless, her confidence visibly shaken. Tulsi's eyes narrowed as she delivered another blow. "You call yourself a truth-teller, but all you've done today is spread lies and personal attacks."
So, before I ask you the first question, what's happening with the telescope and the stuff?
Oh, gosh. The challenge is ongoing. The challenge is ongoing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
What is that?
So,
Just explain.
they decided, it was decided that they were going to go on sacred land.
Oh, yeah. I remember this.
And put up a telescope and do all this stuff. And the Hawaiians said, no, you're not going to do that. So it's been a fight. Tulsi's been at the forefront. Yeah. And I try to bring it up, you know,
I remember.
when I can, because it's, I think sacred land is sacred land. You can't, you know, you can't
Anywhere.
mess with it. So So I have to ask you this
I'm glad you
instead.
did.
So we were just talking about EU Ambassador Sondland changing his testimony yesterday, that he had to be refreshed about quid pro quo, and you've been skeptical more than a lot of the Democrats about the impeachment inquiry. Were you surprised by what he did yesterday?
Well, look, the facts are important, and we'll get to that. I want to start with something that I think is also important about facts.
Her calm fury gave every word unforgettable weight, the kind that lingers in people's minds. The air in the studio grew heavier, everyone knowing this was a moment destined to be replayed across social media. Tulsi stood her ground with the confidence of someone who had faced far worse. And when Whoopi tried to flip the script by accusing her of being defensive, it backfired instantly. Tulsi fired back instantly. No, I'm not defensive. I'm correcting you because you're wrong and you know it. The crowd erupted with scattered applause, some even rising to their feet in support. Joy's cheeks turned a deeper shade of red, though she forced a stiff smile as if nothing was happening, while the other hosts shifted uncomfortably, glancing toward the cameras with visible unease. No one dared to break the standoff. Tulsi leaned back slightly, her composure intact, but her voice stayed sharp as ever. You invited me here to talk, yet all you've done is insult me. Is that what you call journalism? Her tone dripped with sarcasm, sparking laughter from parts of the audience. Desperate, Joy flipped through her notes as if she could bury the moment under another topic, but Tulsi refused to let the spotlight move away. This isn't about me disagreeing with you, she pressed on firmly. It's about you spreading misinformation to millions of viewers, intentionally. The weight of her accusations struck the room hard, silence hanging thick as everyone absorbed the charge. Joy stammered a weak defense, her voice trembling.
Let me just close this out, that Hillary Clinton, throughout her career, has led with a foreign policy of interventionism and being the world's police, going and toppling dictators in other countries that has caused such destruction and loss of life. I'm against that. It's offensive to me as a soldier, as an American, as a member of Congress, as a veteran, and frankly, as a woman, to be so demeaned in
But you
such
called
a way.
her the personification of rock.
So demeaned
She's a woman
in such
too.
a way. Well, I'm pointing to the fact that she has continued this legacy of being the world's police around the world, that has waged wars costing the lives of thousands of my brothers and sisters in uniform.
Well, that's just my opinion. Tulsi cut in without hesitation. No, Joy. That's not opinion. That's a lie, and there's a difference. The audience gasped, followed by a surge of applause. For the first time, Joy looked cornered, her trademark confidence slipping into unease. In that moment, Tulsi had seized complete control, dismantling Joy's argument in front of a live audience that would never forget what they had just witnessed. Joy's grip on her cue cards tightened, as if holding them could somehow restore her control. She tried to steady herself with a glance toward the camera, but Tulsi never wavered. Her eyes stayed fixed, unrelenting. You've built your platform on attacking people like me, Tulsi declared, her voice calm, but carrying undeniable force. But here's the truth, Joy. You can't bully someone who's fought on real battlefields. The crowd erupted into cheers, the energy in the studio shifting instantly in Tulsi's favor. Joy attempted a smirk, but it collapsed under Tulsi's piercing stare. I'm just asking questions, Joy muttered. But Tulsi struck back immediately. No, you're making accusations, she corrected sharply. And you're doing it to attack my character because you can't win with facts. The studio was charged, every word Tulsi delivered landing like a direct hit. You called me an idiot, she continued, leaning in just enough to rattle Joy further. And yet here you sit, ignoring my record, my service, my experience, because it doesn't fit your narrative. Joy forced a strained laugh, darting a glance at her co-hosts for support. But none of them moved. No one wanted to be next in Tulsi's sights.
That's why I ran for Congress.
We actually have the clip of Hillary Clinton, just to put this in
Just to
context
put it
of what
in
we're talking
context.
about. Let's take a look at that.
I'm not making any predictions, but I think they've got their eye on somebody who's currently in the Democratic primary and are grooming her to be the third-party candidate. She's the favorite of the Russians. They have a bunch of, sites and bots and other ways of supporting her so far. And that's assuming Jill Stein will give it up, which she might not, because she's also a Russian asset.
So
Really? I mean, this is outrageous. This is outrageous and offensive on so many levels. I've served as a member of Congress now for almost 7 years, receiving high-level national security and intelligence briefings, serving on the Foreign Affairs Committee, the Armed Services Committee, the Homeland Security Committee, working to ensure the safety and security of the people of this country. This is why I'm running for president, to continue that commitment of service.
So are you surprised, though, that when people see bots and things and all the things that we've sort of been seeing heading your way, that people have these questions? Because she's not the only one. Hillary, I don't think, is the only one. So what she's saying is she feels they are grooming you. You're saying nobody's grooming me. I'm doing what I'm doing because I'm a soldier and a patriot.
It's offensive to me as a soldier, as an American, as a member of Congress, as a veteran, and frankly, as a woman, to be so demeaned in
But you
such
called
a way.
her the personification of rock.
So demeaned
She's a woman
in such
too.
a way. Well, I'm pointing to the fact that she has continued this legacy of being the world's police around the world, that has waged wars costing the lives of thousands of my brothers and sisters in uniform. I'm speaking out against that, and
What's
to
your evidence
change.
to that?
To change.
Well, can I?
Are you
can I-
serious?
Let's hear it.
Are you serious?
Let's hear it.
I served in the war
Not
in
you,
Iraq.
her. You're saying that she's-
exactly.
she's a
I
warmonger.
served
How do
in
you
the
come
war
up with
in
that?
Iraq
Yeah.
that she championed. She championed a regime change war
Did you not
in
believe
Libya.
in that war?
I believe the lies that were told to us.
Well, so did she.
Look, it is indisputable. It is indisputable.
I've served my country for years, Tulsi pressed on, her tone unwavering. I've been in war zones. I've seen lives torn apart. And I will not sit here and be belittled by someone who's never walked a single day in my shoes. The audience roared in response, some rising to their feet as Joy's expression crumbled into a mix of shock and frustration, realizing she was trapped in a fight she couldn't win. One co-host made a desperate attempt to steer the show back on topic, but Tulsi cut in before the momentum could slip from her grasp. "We're not moving on until this is clear," Tulsi declared, her tone firm and unshakable. "You don't get to spread lies and then hide behind a smile." Joy, visibly rattled, tried to push back with, "Well, Tulsi, maybe if you—" but she was cut off instantly. "No, Joy, stop. You've had your turn. Now, you're going to listen." Tulsi's words landed like a command, freezing the moment as the crowd erupted once again, while even the camera crew hesitated, unsure whether to cut to commercial or keep capturing the firestorm. Tulsi pressed on, unwavering. "You accuse me of things without a shred of evidence, and then pretend you're just asking questions. That isn't journalism, that's manipulation." The audience gasped, but their applause made it clear they agreed. Joy's shoulders slumped slightly, the fight slipping from her grip as Tulsi leaned forward with precision. "Here's the truth. You call me names, you attack my integrity, but the fact is, you're threatened by me, threatened by someone who refuses to play by your rules."
To say anything other than the fact
Well, this-
that
can I
Hillary,
say
let me just close this out, that Hillary Clinton throughout her career has led with a foreign policy of interventionism and being the world's police, going and toppling dictators in other countries that has caused such destruction and loss of life. I'm against that. I'm running for president to change that. Rather than actually debate me on the issues, she and others are resorting to these smear tactic campaigns, seeking to undermine me, smear my character, and sending a message to anyone who dissents: stand, toe the line, or you too will be smeared.
Joy stayed silent, and that silence spoke louder than anything she could have said. The tension was suffocating, the kind of moment that gripped not only the studio, but every viewer at home. Then Tulsi delivered the line that would dominate headlines for days. So, here's my advice, Joy. If you don't want to be called out, stop embarrassing yourself on national television. The crowd exploded, some cheering wildly, others gasping at the bluntness, while Joy's face shifted from shock to anger. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, her eyes darting toward the producers in desperation for an escape that wasn't coming. Tulsi leaned back in her chair, calm and collected, her stare never breaking, as Joy sat cornered with no comeback in sight. "You can spin this however you want," Tulsi declared, "but the people watching know exactly what happened here today." The studio erupted in thunderous applause, the kind that shook the room and made it clear. The audience had chosen their side. Tulsi hadn't just defended herself, she had flipped the entire exchange, leaving Joy visibly shaken and defeated. The producers finally cut to commercial, but the damage was already done. Social media lit up instantly. Clips were shared at lightning speed, and this fiery clash was destined to live online forever. When the cameras returned, Joy tried to act unfazed, but her tone was different.
I do want to ask you something else. Kamala Harris said recently that her race and gender are, quote, the elephant in the room, and that many still question if America is ready for a woman, and specifically a woman of color, to be president. And you're also a woman of color.
Yeah.
Is that, you feel, been a problem for you? Do you agree with her?
No, I think the American people are ready for a president that will put people ahead of politics, put people ahead of profits.
Then why is she saying that, you think?
You have to ask Kamala that. I can't speak to why she's saying that. But what I've seen in our travels across New Hampshire, we just came from New Hampshire yesterday, across the early states, we have some New Hampshire people here, is we are building a coalition to bring about the systemic change we need to see to take our government back from the rich and powerful who control it and make it so our government is truly of, by, and for the people.
Quieter, restrained, almost hesitant. Tulsi, by contrast, sat poised and confident, the undisputed victor of the showdown. It was the kind of television moment you couldn't script, raw, unfiltered, and impossible to ignore. Joy had expected to put Tulsi on the defensive, but instead, she had been dismantled on her own stage. The tension lingered like a storm cloud, felt by the audience, the co-hosts, and most of all, by Joy herself, whose usual swagger had been replaced by visible unease. We had a very clear understanding. You came at me with false accusations, and I responded with the truth. The audience roared again, clapping and cheering, refusing to let Joy sweep it under the rug. Joy forced a tight, uneasy smile, clinging to what dignity she had left. But Tulsi leaned in, calm and resolute. "You can call me whatever names you want, Joy," she said, her voice steady and final. "But the next time you try to discredit someone, make sure you have the facts first. Because not everyone will sit here and take it." The words landed like a knockout punch, freezing the room in silence. Joy opened her mouth as if to reply, then stopped, the defeat written across her face.
Because recently on your show here...
I was just going to get to that.
Good. Helping you out.
You want me to ask you the question?
Yeah,
No, look, some
the
of
question.
you
Let me ask you the
have
question.
accused me of being a traitor to my country, a Russian asset, a Trojan horse, or a
we haven't accused you of-
useful idiot, I think was the
Well,
term that you
useful.
used. Which basically means that I'm naive or lack
That's a
intelligence
Russian
to
term.
know what's going
They
on.
use that.
I want to let your viewers know exactly who I am.
All right.
Set the record straight. I am a patriot. I love our country. I am a strong and intelligent woman of color, and I have dedicated almost my entire adult life to protecting the safety, security, and the freedom of all Americans in this country. It was the attacks on 9/11.
Tulsi had won, and everyone knew it. By the time Tulsi walked off the set, social media was already on fire. Clips of her calling Joy out and demanding accountability spread like wildfire, with hashtags trending before the episode had even finished. Political commentators quickly weighed in. Supporters praised Tulsi's fearless stance, while critics of The View declared it one of the most satisfying takedowns in daytime television history. Joy, meanwhile, stayed silent for the rest of the day, carefully avoiding any response. But that silence only fueled the flames, sending the clips surging even faster across the internet. Tulsi leaned into the moment, posting a short statement later that evening, thanking viewers for their support, and reminding them that standing up for truth isn't always comfortable, but it's always worth it. Her words struck a powerful chord, racking up thousands of shares and comments, cementing her reputation as someone unafraid to confront even the most hostile stages. In the end, Tulsi didn't just survive her appearance on The View. She dominated it, controlled it, and left a mark that neither Joy Behar nor the show itself could shake off anytime soon. This wasn't just another TV spat. It became a national reminder that even on carefully managed platforms, truth can cut straight through. And when it does, it's unforgettable. For Joy, the sting of that moment would linger. A reminder every time she sat in that chair that one guest had stood up to her without fear, without apology, and without backing down.